Carlos Ramirez, owner of NVS Audio in Roselle, New Jersey. Chris came in for a tune on his Street Glide. We took the Pike apart and took a look and realized that it wasn't going to be a tune. It was going to be a wiring rescue. So we had to reschedule him, and then he just brought it back in. So there was the experience just wasn't a good one from start to finish with Chris, because he went, picked up the bike, paid. On his way home, he realized, as he went to switch lanes, that he had no mirrors because they put tweeters in the mirror holes, which is fine. We do it all the time, but we let clients know to either bring us in mirrors or we'll supply them with mirrors so we can put them on the handlebar, because if you remove the mirrors from here, you have to give the client a set of mirrors. He didn't realize until he went to switch lanes on the highway that he had no mirrors. That was first off. Well, he didn't really get to demo or try the stereo until he got home. When he got home, he turned it up and he was greatly disappointed. Had no idea why. He paid really good money, got good name brand equipment. He just didn't have the output. So he brought it to us. He figured maybe it was just a tune. So we start looking over the bike and quickly found many mistakes. Okay, so there's 10-inch PRVs in the bags. So that's good. You're going to get a ton of bass, ton of output. It's going to sound really good. But there's a 6x9 in the lid. You cannot mix a 10 and a 6x9 unless you baffle off the 6x9, because the pressure from the 10 is going to push on the cone for the 6x9 and it's going to become a passive radiator. You cannot mix the two. It's not going to work. So you either have to baffle the 6x9 or use the sealed back. So we got to fix that. I can live past that. So now I go to the other bag and look. Well, let's start here first. The evil glass fuse holder that I say never, ever, ever, ever to use. And this wire is all bought from Amazon. That logo is Install Gear. It's an Amazon brand. And this is the Install Gear aluminum wire. So 2 8-gauge runs, one to the front, one to the back, of really cheap aluminum 8-gauge wire. I don't know what this fuse holder is for, but look at that. It's already falling apart. So we'll have to fix that. So we'll get rid of all this and fix that. A bunch of wires jumped off the battery. But where we get to the other bag, that's where the real big mess is. So we see something going on there. I see power wires. And it's in there just bouncing around. So we have a DSP that was held on with Velcro that fell. I have no idea why the DSP is not in the fairing. We have a Rockford 400 watt amp Velcro to the back wall. It's okay, no problem. Client tells me he can't take off his bag. So I'm wondering why, because this is a quick disconnect power block. I don't like where they put it, but at least they installed one, so the bag should be able to come off. Now I see what the problem is. So we have quick disconnect for the power block, quick disconnect for the RCA. We'll get back to that in a second. Swivel quick disconnect for the speaker, but then we have 3 large holes and more wire and no quick disconnect. There's no connector on that wire. There's no connector on that wire. So this can be disconnected, this could be disconnected. This cannot be this can be disconnected. This cannot be disconnected. This, you can't take the bag off. And then my issue with the RCA is he's getting noise. As you move this around, audio goes in and out. Okay, so we'll fix that. Okay, so they installed high power PRV carbon in the fairing, high power PRV 6x9s, high power PRV 10s. So when I originally pulled the fairing, I assumed it was 2 Sound Digital 800s. It turns out they're not. They're 2 400s. They're not even 800s. So what's the sense of putting 10s on the bike and then installing 3 400-watt amps. So if you bridge the 400, you would get 200 and 200, which is severely underpowering the 10s. Fine. These are 8-ohm woofers. So these woofers are getting less than 200 watts each. So they took up all his bag space and did 10s, and then ran a quarter of the amount of power that I would have run to them. If you're going to lose your bag space, you better be able to produce bass. Here we go again with the 20-foot RCAs. And they couldn't even give them the proper distribution block. Each one of these amplifiers takes 8-gauge oxygen-free copper power input. So they ran one 8-gauge aluminum, and then they used the wrong distribution block. This distribution block takes a 0-gauge in, and it does 2 4-gauge out. I guess they didn't have the proper one, or they ordered the wrong one. So look all the space that's in there when they jammed the 8-gauge under the screw. I'm surprised the screw reached. And then they split it into 2 8-gauge. This block is for 0-gauge in, 2 4-gauge out. They went 8-gauge in, 2 8-gauge out. Same thing with the power side. Look at all that space in there. So now we're going to take the amp out of the saddlebag. There's no need for an amplifier to go in the saddlebag. We're going to do an amp rack that gives us more space. We're going to replace that DSP with the HCAM Mini because it fits right here. And we're going to do 3 amplifiers up front. We're actually going to do a 1600.1 to run the bass, and then we'll reuse his 400s to run the highs to get this bike to sound good. It's still going to be severely underpowered, but at least it'll get him triple, quadruple the output that he's currently getting. So this is what I have to work with. Let's take it apart, work our magic. And look at the way they spliced in the speaker wires. Couldn't even tape them up. It's okay, we're gonna make it right.